Would you like to know a small little trick that can help you in so many relationships? If so, stick around. Communication is fundamental to any relationship, and I'm going to share with you a strategy to remember this and to help you when, well, I'm not going to say if because we're human, so it's going to happen, but when you might be faced with somebody approaching you with anger. I'm Connie Jo Holmes. I'm the founder of Be You to Be Full Hypnosis and Coaching. And my company's name is very intentional because my mission is inside of it. I teach individuals self acceptance and how to truly be you, because when you can do that, that is how and when you can live a very fulfilled life. And within that capacity, I teach individuals how to build their self confidence, but also how to move from reacting to life to owning your life. And to me, when you can master communication, I really don't think there's probably a better way to learn how to own your life. So, what I want to share with you is, how many times, we're all human, so we've all experienced this, that we have been approached by somebody with anger. Now, when that somebody who approaches us with anger is a loved one, that can be very, very confusing. And so, what I want to share with you is a way to help you in this situation. So, now, is it right and appropriate and excusable for somebody to, approach you with anger? Probably not. So, do not feel and hear and think that I'm defending, that person approaching you in anger. However, I am going to say, though, we're all human. I know I have approached people with anger before, and I'm certain you have too. So part of it is just being human. But also, when we can learn these communication tricks, those times of us approaching someone with anger, and then those loved ones around us approaching us with anger, it's going to start to reduce itself. So what it is you've probably heard people say, don't take things personally. And really, there probably is no better, self-help statement in the world than not to take things personally. And I know it's probably hard to even imagine because, if somebody's looking right at you, like, you are such a jerk, why do you do that? They're looking right at you and they're probably pointing like that and everything. And so they are directing it at you. So you're probably thinking, well, how can I not take it personally? Well, I'm going to tell you how you don't. So one thing, when somebody does have an outburst like that, it is telling you a million times more things that something is going on with them than something that you did or didn't do. Okay? So just remember that when somebody has an angry outburst, it says so much more about them and what they have going on than you. So please remember that. Another thing is just almost to just picture just like this invisible shield going up so that you don't receive it. And so it just sits right there and you can, one, almost push that energy back to them, but mainly so you don't absorb it and take it personally. But how you really can look, I should say, and how you can really look beyond that is 99% of the time, what is actually behind anger is actually either sadness, hurt, or fear. It's just that anger is the easiest emotion to feel. It is that brick wall that all the other emotions stand behind. And again, because it's the easiest one to feel. So, because if you think about it, if somebody is expressing anger, it's an outburst. And so it's, so it's easier. So it's an outburst. I'm pushing it back on you. Versus if they were actually really hurt by something and then probably a little bit sad because of it, their words might actually be, you really hurt me. When you don't call me and think about me enough to give me a call or return my call, you really hurt me and you make me feel like I'm not enough in our relationship. And I don't like that. That's just a made up example off the top of my head, but you can feel the difference, right? I mean, it's hard to say that last part because you're making yourself vulnerable. When we make ourselves vulnerable, we are showing our insides to whoever we're talking to, and not everybody is comfortable doing that. So that's why anger is easier to feel, and that's why someone more often than not will show anger when they actually are fearful, hurt, or sad. So I actually, just a couple of days ago, I gave an effective communication workshop to a business, and we were talking about all of these different things, and it was very well received because the information was to help this group both personally as well as professionally. So think about some work times as well that somebody might approach you with anger. But what might be behind it is actually, fear of maybe losing their job, fear of, falling out of favor with the boss, or, something like that. And so when you can take a moment and hear actually what's not being said, that can actually help the relationship. Now, you might sit here and ask, well, they're being the jerk and they're approaching me with anger. Why do I have to be the one to take the high road? Why do I have to be the one to, be the bigger person here? Well, this is where this topic is closely connected to emotional intelligence. And what I like to tell people, someone needs to be the intelligent one. Why not you? And I say that a little bit tongue in cheek, but I also really do mean it. This work is hard, and it does take intelligence. It takes grace. It takes care, respect, that type of thing. And those are big qualities to have. So why not be the one to possess that? And also, if you care enough about that relationship or the person in the relationship, or just the situation at hand, well, just do it. Because one, every time you do it, it is just going to allow you to grow more and more as a person, number one. Number two, when you do it with that person that you really care about, you are incredibly helping out your relationship, because the chances of this type of situation happening more and more are going to be more and more decreased, because you are understanding how to communicate with each other, and you're speaking at a vulnerable level, which that is where a really loving and connected relationship can be. So please remember that as well. But anyways, when I was giving this workshop earlier this week, I shared this story. I was one of those teenagers that did not respect curfew at all. And I remember specifically this one night, I came home. It was probably, and this was in the 80s, so it was before cell phones and all of that stuff. And so I came home probably an hour late from curfew, and my mom greeted me at the door and just jumped at me and just was so mad and just screaming at me. And when I look back at that now, I'm just like, that poor woman. I mean, her anger, yes, she was angry at me, but what was behind the anger was nothing but fear. I mean, as a mom, of course, she thought I was dead in a ditch somewhere. That's why I was an hour late, And so when you can, trust me, when I was a teenager, I wasn't thinking like this, but had I been, that anger when it was presented at me, and if I could see, because that's my desire, remember, because we're not taking it personally, we're holding up that invisible little wall that to protect ourselves so we don't receive it personally. And when I can hear, sense, see, feel, imagine everything behind those words, that is when I can actually see the fear behind all those angry words, the angry face, the voice tone, all of that stuff. And when you can hear that, it's actually going to allow you to soften. Because if that was the case, I mean, I don't even remember how I reacted. I probably was just some obnoxious teenager and, just like walked past her and went up to my room or something stupid. But if that was to happen now, I would just give her a big old hug and say, I'm sorry. You must be scared to death. I am so sorry I did that to you. So can you imagine, think of a scenario right now where you can actually cut behind that anger that is in front of your eyes from that other person and really see what's behind it? it can actually be beautiful. It really, really can be beautiful, and it can solidify your relationship even deeper. So, so I hope that that was very helpful. But I do want to share a couple of other things because, communication is so important in both the written word, the spoken word, body language, tone, tonality, volume, and really the energy. As I'm talking right now, I'm reminded of, there's, and these are kind of a little bit outdated now, I think, although I don't know why. But there's some previous books that I remember reading, like probably in the 90s, about customer service, about how to be a good customer service person. And you'll read in these books that they say, and even though you're over the phone, when you talk, smile, because people can hear the words behind a smile just like they can hear the words behind a frown. And so that's very important. And that speaks to, I guess in that case, to me, I would say the energy behind your communication. This entire time, I've been standing how I'm standing. I'm talking a little bit with my hands, but I'm standing here pretty much always, facing the camera, looking for the most part directly at you. And I am speaking with confidence and giving you assurance that I know what I'm talking about. Versus, I would like to talk to you today about communication and how it's so very important. I mean, hopefully you felt that difference, right? I mean, I'm not looking at the camera. I'm kind of like, my shoulders sunk in a little bit. That's the example of body language that is hugely, hugely important. Think about, again, this angry situation and, somebody's barking right at you, but you're trying to find like what's underneath that, when you can lean in. And, and maybe kind of, maybe not in that case, maybe not go shoulder to shoulder, or like this way, squared. Maybe in this case, it's a little bit of an angle, and it's leaning in and having that expression on your face like, are you okay? What's really underneath the words that you're saying? Versus, are you all right? What's going on with you? I mean, massive difference. So that's tone, tonality, as well as body language. So keep these things in mind when you are communicating with friends and family, colleagues, that type of thing, because this is very, very much essential. So now if this is anything that I can help you in, both personally or professionally, it is, I mean, I've definitely worked with individuals before one-on-one who are having a tough time just communicating in the workplace, taking things personally all the time. And it's actually standing in the way of their career advancement. I have worked with a number of clients in that regard. I have also given my effective communication workshop to a number of businesses. So if that is anything that might interest you, my contact information is in the link below. So please feel free to reach out at me. But in the meantime, please remember, don't take things personally. You're caring enough about this person because they're a loved one, they're a friend, or they're a colleague. So hear, see, and feel what is behind those words that they're showing to you, and allow that to then drive your response, because we want to actually respond versus react, because when we can do that, then we can salvage the relationship, but also get to the heart of the matter. And to me, that's what communication is all about. So, all right, I hope that was helpful. And if so, please like, comment, share, and subscribe.